Hey man, say man. This is the A-Man Show, back at it again for more content. So guys, we're back to this NFL ranking series, and that is ranking the top 10 players in each position in the NFL. I did this 2 years ago, and now looking back at the list, I felt guilty of not fully completing the series. And the same with the NBA. So going forward, I'm going to try and finish what I started. So in this ranking series, we're going to rank the top 10 players in each position, excluding punters, kickers, and kick returners. And we finna finish it off with the top 10 players in the league. As y'all can see the title, we finna rank quarterbacks first, because in the ranking series I did 2 years ago, I did not rank quarterbacks. So we're going to rank quarterbacks first. With that out of the way, let's rank the top 10 QBs in the league. Video starts, make sure y'all subscribe to my channel. I post NBA and NFL content. Turn on post notifications so that way y'all stay notified of new videos I put out. Anyways, stay tuned and let's get the vid started. So to start off this list with the number 10 spot, I gotta go with Kirk Cousins. Cousins ended the season with the most wins he had in his career with 13 regular season wins. Even though the majority of those wins were kind of fluky, you can't deny how much he helped the Vikings be the best closing team in the league last year. Cousins in the last 2 seasons has shown that he can play at a relative above average level. But last year he was worse as a passer, all because of him being too passive, and also the reason I have him at 10 is because he was carried by the likes of Justin Jefferson. And other than him, Cousins had other reliable receiving options such as TJ Hawkinson and Adam Thielen. But other than that, Cousins is better than half of the quarterbacks in the league, but not a guy that can win you playoff games. Coming in at the number 9 spot in my list, I have Jared Goff. Goff, in my opinion, had his best year of his career. First of all, he was the leading culprit of the Lions' mid-season turnaround of going 8-2 in the last 10 games of the regular season, including outplaying Aaron Rodgers in the last game of the regular season, preventing the Packers from making the postseason. He threw for over 4,000 yards, and he has been excellent at taking care of the football, only having 7 interceptions while being more aggressive at pushing the football down the field, and have the second best QBR in the league with a 60.7 QBR. I think we understand why I have Goff over Cousins. Goff led the Lions to a winning record along with having more superior numbers than Cousins, while with a worse receiving core than Cousins. Last year cemented Goff as the franchise QB for the Lions, and I can see him progress and lead this Lions team to a postseason appearance. At the number 8 spot in my list, I have Geno Smith. Smith had one of the greatest comeback stories in the league, being bounced from team to now being the guy for the Seattle Seahawks. The guy has improved to be one of the most accurate QBs in the league, and then couple that with throwing for over 4,000 yards and 30 TDs. Not only he has improved on his accuracy, but his pocket presence, such as his ability to anticipate pressure from the edge and make great reads. And also his consistency has been the biggest we've seen of him in his breakout year. His numbers helped lead the Seahawks to a wildcard spot before losing to the 49ers. Even with that loss, the Seahawks had no business being in the playoffs, especially then trading away Russell Wilson and going on a rebuild. After all Geno Smith did last year, there's no way he can say that he is not a top 10 QB in the league. And now with Jackson Smith, Njigba, and Devin Witherspoon, the Seahawks are now a legit playoff team. Coming in at the number 7 spot in my list, I gotta go with Lamar Jackson. Jackson is lower in my list because of availability issues, especially during the latter part of last year and even the year prior. And not just that, he still have issues with his throwing mechanics, and even though when healthy, the guy led a pretty mid offense to winning records in 2 consecutive seasons. But the injuries is what is killing him and forces me to put him lower in the list. For all of that aside, Jackson is still the best running QB, maybe ever. We haven't seen a quarterback who is this dominant at running the football like Lamar Jackson. But still, his throwing mechanics and injuries is what made me rank him at number 7 in my list. Hopefully, he'll change that narrative with actual receiving options such as OBJ and Antonio Brown. At the number 6 spot, I have Justin Herbert. Herbert, by his standards, had a down year because of the play calling of Joe Lombardi and being too conservative. But despite that, the guy was still able to pass for almost 5,000 yards again, The guy has one of the most talented arms we've ever seen from a quarterback, and he can throw pretty much everywhere in the field, whether that is checkdowns, short, middle passes, and deep passes, which is his bread and butter. Despite his absurd talent as a quarterback, his lack of playoff success still lingers, especially blowing a 27-point lead against the Jaguars in the wildcard game. And I know it's not entirely his fault in this game, but blowing a 27-point lead is still unacceptable, and because of that, he's not among the 5 best QBs in my list. Now, you can make an argument of why he should be in the top 5 because of his absurd numbers in that 2-season stretch, but the guy hasn't won a playoff game, and not one simple playoff game, a game where he was up by 27 points and still lost. Which brings me to another quarterback that is by the way ahead of Herbert in my list. That's right, coming in at the number 5 spot in my list has to be Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence put up similar stats as Herbert did. Last season shows, y'all, the difference it can make if you switch head coaching positions. Pairing Lawrence with Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2018, Peterson has really utilized Lawrence's strengths very well. And as far as Lawrence's play goes, the guy shows his exceptional pocket presence and improved his ability to make accurate and difficult throws down the field, as well as making much better decisions with the football, given his apparent decrease from his picks, from leading the league in interceptions the year prior to only having 8, and has proven that he can be clutch under pressure. The playoff game against the Chargers is an example of him leading the Jaguars to a comeback from a 27-point deficit. Lawrence has proven that he can be the guy on a playoff team and maybe a quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl one day. And mind you, he was able to do this with a worse offense and defense than what Justin Herbert had. The future for him is very bright, and so is the Jaguars. Coming in at the number 4 spot in my list, I have to go with Josh Allen. I know it's a bit of a surprise for some of y'all, but hear me out. Yes, Allen is a top QB talent in terms of arm strength, easily up there with the Mahomes and Herberts of the world, but at the same time, the guy is top 3 in interceptions thrown. We all agree that Josh Allen is a gunslinger, but that type of play style is not going to win you Super Bowls. And last year, we saw a whole lot of that play style, and that really did more harm than good for his team. Don't get me wrong, the Bills were still a 13-win team and made the postseason. And even in the postseason, the guy was struggling to complete passes against the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins weren't slouches on defense, but still, for him to struggle like this against them is very concerning. And then we get to the divisional round where Josh Allen got exposed bad against that Bengals defense, where the guy could not complete a pass to save his life. Although when Josh Allen gets it going, he is an elite talent in the league. But when he doesn't get it going, he is a turnover machine. And that's the reason why he hasn't made a Super Bowl appearance. Going into this season, he's one of the players who has the most to prove. At the number 3 spot in my list has to be Jalen Hurts. Hurts had an MVP caliber season with the Philadelphia Eagles, being second in MVP voting behind Mahomes. The guy was the best dual threat QB in the league last year by having the most rushing TDs by a QB in history. Not to mention that he threw for almost 4,000 yards and had solid TD numbers while completing 67% of his passes. Jalen Hurts during last year's offseason had the most pressure to prove to the league that he can be a franchise QB on a certain team. And man, he has blown that expectation to pieces. I even predicted shit like this to happen years ago when I made a vid on the potential of Jalen Hurts. And looking back, I was right. Not only he was great in the regular season, but in the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl, where he had his best game of the season in the Super Bowl. And not just that, the guy had one of the greatest performances for a quarterback in Super Bowl history, where he had over 300 passing yards and a touchdown, completing 71% of his passes and rushed for 70 yards and 3 rushing TDs. Like I said in that Eagles video, the Eagles are going to win multiple Super Bowls with Jalen Hurts on the helm. At the number 2 spot in my list is Joe Burrow. Burrow in the last 2 seasons has took the league by storm. Out of the gate, he is the most accurate QB in the league and maybe the best pocket passer in the league also. his ability to shred apart coverages across the field and make pinpoint passes consistently. No one can scan the field as quickly or better than Joe Burrow. And if we look at what he's done to this Bengals franchise, he took this franchise into new heights that they'd never been in their history. Burrow last year was 4th in MVP voting, and that great play translated well to the playoffs, where he smacked a top 3 defense in the league in the Bills in the divisional round. Although they will lose to the eventual champions in the Chiefs, but if you add this season plus the season prior, coupled with the incredible playoff run he had in 2021, plus having a winning record against Patrick Mahomes, there's no doubt that he's not only the second best QB in the league, but a top 3 player in the game today. Going into this season, with the Bengals beefing up the O-line with the signing of Orlando Brown, it's my early pick to win this season's MVP. And at the number 1 spot, y'all guessed it, is Patty Mahomes. Mahomes not only clears every QB in my list, but he is the best player in football, period. What he did last year is another testament to his greatness as a player. We have never seen a QB under 30 who has accomplished as much as Mahomes did. If he were to retire right now, he would have a gold jacket in the Hall of Fame, especially him having one of the greatest individual seasons for a player ever, winning an MVP by putting up absurd numbers with Travis Kelce being his main and only receiving option, and also winning a Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP at the same time. Guys, it's only a matter of time before this man is considered to be the greatest player in NFL history. There hasn't been a quarterback in history who is more talented and transcended the quarterback position than Patrick Mahomes. And that's the video. What do y'all think about this list? Any complaints about this list? Let me know in the comment section below, and make sure y'all subscribe to my channel for more NBA and NFL content. My goal is to hit 1,000 subs by the end of this year, so smashing the like button and subscribing will be very appreciative of you. And also turn on post notifications, and that is all. Stay litty. This is the A-Man Show. Sign out.